Hi, I'm Mike. In this video, you'll learn what Amazon Web Services, or AWS, is and how to start leveraging its benefits today. AWS is the world's most popular cloud platform, allowing you to host websites and applications while scaling your servers up or down as needed, paying only for what you use. With AWS, your applications automatically benefit from high performance, reliability, security, and global reach. You'll also have access to an ever-expanding catalog of services, including cutting-edge AI and machine learning options. In this tutorial, we'll take a hands-on approach to AWS by deploying a simple Node.js website. Along the way, we'll explore essential AWS services like EC2, S3, and RDS, core components that anyone working with AWS is going to use over and over. Even if you're new to cloud computing, by the end of this video, you'll know how to deploy your own project on AWS. Best of all, you can get started for free. So let's jump right in. We're going to start by creating an AWS account. Head over to the website you see at the bottom of the screen, or click the link in the description. And then click on the Create a Free Account button. Enter your email address here. This will be used for logging into the root account within your AWS account, which gives you full control. You can also create additional accounts later. Next, choose a name for your AWS account and click Verify Email Address, and then verify your email. Choose a password for your AWS account. Choose something stronger than password 123 and click Continue. Fill out the form, and when you're done, click Agree and Continue. Next, enter your credit card information here. You shouldn't be charged if you stay below the free tier limits, which is our plan for this tutorial. Then enter your mobile phone number here and verify the text that AWS sent you. You have the option to pay for technical support, but we're just going to select the free basic support and then complete the sign-up. With the sign-up done, now we're ready to go to the Management Console and start using AWS. I have a bakery called mikes-macaroon-market. It specializes in making fun little desserts. My macaroons are delicious, and business has been taking off. So I created a website to sell them online. In this video, we will walk through the steps to set up this website on AWS. It is going to need compute resources to host the web server, as well as storage for the images of macaroons I sell, and a database to store my inventory and track orders. We're starting here at the Management Console. This is a good place to see an overview of your account and also access all AWS services. But first things first, let's take a moment to make sure we're in the region we want. Regions are essentially data centers, and each data center is located in a geographically different place and might even have different services and pricing. It is important to choose the region so you are creating your resources where you expect. Click the region drop-down in the top right. I am choosing a US region to be close to where I am and where I expect many of my customers to be. I prefer to avoid the US West 1 region in Northern California because it has a higher cost. Let's choose US East 1, also known as North Virginia. Speaking of cost, as we begin to use AWS services, we can see how much we're using and how much they're costing here in the Cost and Usage panel. You can click in to get more details. The AWS Health panel will show us any notifications of downtime or other updates that may affect our services. Scroll down the page to access documentation, support, and articles if you need more help. Anyway, what is EC2? Well, it is the AWS service that allows you to create virtual servers, which Amazon calls instances. You can launch, manage, and resize these instances as needed, and you don't have to worry about buying or managing physical servers. They are useful for so many situations: AI workloads, big data processing, and hosting applications, which is how we're using it, so we can host our Node.js web application. We are ready to begin setting up the mikes-macaroon-market website. Let's start by setting up a web server in EC2. Scroll up and click the link that says View All Services. Then choose EC2. We want to create a new EC2 instance, so click the Launch Instance button. Let's give our instance the name mikes-macaroon-market website. Here we get to select what operating system image we want to use. For this tutorial, let's stick with the default, which is Amazon Linux. There are options here for Windows, Mac OS, and other flavors of Linux as well. The Amazon Linux image is one of the ones that's free tier eligible. If we scroll down, now we can select the instance type, which is basically how much CPU and memory our virtual server will have. We will again stick with the default option, which is free tier eligible. We have the option to add a key pair, which can be used with SSH to connect to our instance. But since we won't be using that, I'm just going to select Proceed without a key pair. Next are the network settings. We can just leave all the default values here. Although we do want to allow HTTP traffic, we're going to set that up later because we're not going to use the default port 80. We can do that by modifying the security group that's being created. Notice the name is Launch Wizard 1. This last section is for configuring storage. We'll go with the default value of 8 GB, which should be plenty for our small website. Now we're all set to start our instance. Click the Launch Instance button. Our instance is created, so let's go take a look. Click on the link. Select our instance. We have one more thing to do here. Scroll down and go to the Security tab. Click on that security group named Launch Wizard 1 that was created automatically. We're going to create a new rule for HTTP traffic. Click on the Edit Inbound Rules button. Click Add Rule. Enter the port number 8080 and choose the default range of IP addresses, which is 0000/0 to allow all IP addresses. Our web application is coded to use port 8080 by default. And by using this higher numbered port, we can avoid some extra setup steps in Linux, which would be needed to have permission to open a low port number like 80. Click Save Rules. The EC2 instance is configured and running. It is waiting there patiently for us to do something with it. But we have a couple more things to set up. We'll come back to EC2 to install and run our website in a moment. First, let's explore two other important AWS services that our website needs. If you're not interested in S3 storage or RDS databases, feel free to skip ahead using the timestamps below to go to the chapter on connecting to the EC2 instance. Otherwise, let's start by jumping over to S3 to set up a place to store our macaroon images. Find the search bar at the top of the screen, type in S3, click on S3 in the first result to jump over to the S3 service. S3 is a good place to store files. You can keep your files private so they're only accessible by your application, or you can make files publicly accessible, which is what we're going to do. You store your files in what Amazon calls a bucket. A bucket is basically like a drive or a root folder. You can also create subfolders inside your bucket to organize your files. Let's start by clicking the Create Bucket button. Here we can set up our bucket. Let's keep the default bucket type, and we can give our bucket a name. Usually the name doesn't matter that much if the bucket is private. But remember, this one's going to be public. Our website is going to serve image files from this bucket. So the bucket name is actually going to be part of the URL to the image file. Let's call our bucket mikes-macaroon-market. So the name is nice and sounds official. And notice that since this name can be part of a URL, the only special characters allowed are dots and hyphens. So we'll use hyphens instead of spaces between our words. We don't need to set permissions for our files, so we can leave the access control lists or ACLs disabled. We do want to have public access, so we can uncheck the box that says Block All Public Access, and check the box that says we acknowledge that this is what we want. Keep the default bucket versioning, and now's a good time to talk about tags. Tags let you add a label to the resources you're creating. They help you keep everything organized. You put the same tags on resources that are related to each other, and then you can easily search for or group together those resources. As you start to add more applications to your AWS account, you'll want to keep straight which resources go with which. And if you set up multiple environments like dev, test, staging, and production, you'll want to keep each of them separate. Let's add 2 tags here so that we know that this bucket is being used for our macaroon website and it's in the production environment. Leave the rest of the default values and click the Create Bucket button. We have one change to make, so click on the bucket. Go to Permissions and find the Bucket Policy section and click Edit. I'll paste in a bucket policy here. If you're following along, you can copy and paste this from the description below. Just make sure to change the name of the resource if your bucket has a different name than mine. This policy makes our bucket public. It allows everyone to read all files from our bucket. Our customers can download and view images on our website. Finally, scroll down and click Save Changes. Now that our bucket is all set up, let's take a look inside. Scroll up and click on the Objects tab. There's nothing in our bucket because we haven't uploaded any files yet. And actually, we don't have to. Our website is coded to upload all its images into the bucket when it first starts running. But if we wanted to manually upload any files, we could do so by clicking on the Upload button. Then click Add Files and choose a file. Finally, click Upload in the bottom right. Now we see we successfully uploaded a file. There's just one more thing we need. To allow our website to upload files to this S3 bucket, we need to create an access key, so it will have permission to connect. To do that, click on the Account menu in the top right and choose Security Credentials. Scroll down to the Access Keys section and click the Create Access Key button. The screen here is warning us that usually it's a good idea to create a separate user login with just the permissions that are needed instead of using the root account. You would normally want to do that to minimize the risk in case your access key ever gets leaked. But for this tutorial, we're just going to use the root account, so check the box to confirm that's okay, and click on the button that says Create Access Key. We have now created an access key, and it also has a secret access key with it. This is basically like a username and a password. Make sure to save these somewhere safe. You can copy the secret access key or download a CSV file. We won't be able to see this again after we leave the screen. When you're ready, click the Done button. There's just one more service our website needs. It uses a postgres database to store the information about my macaroons, including the flavors and prices. This is also where we record the orders our customers place. Now we need to go to RDS to set up our database. Besides using the search box, another way to find the service you're looking for is to use the Services menu. Click on the button in the top left that looks like 9 squares. Go to Database and click on Aurora and RDS. This is the RDS dashboard. We could go to the Databases tab and create a database there, or just click the Create Database button right here. The first question here is the database creation method. Let's go ahead and choose the easy mode. This is going to hide some of the more advanced settings on this form. We don't really need to change any of these for a simple scenario anyway, so it's best to just let AWS pick the recommended values for us. Next, pick your database type. All the popular options are available here. Our website is expecting a Postgres database, so let's pick that. Next, pick your database size. The smallest one will work for us, and that will keep us in the free tier. Our database instance needs a name. Let's call it mikes-macaroon-market. We can choose a username and password. Let's keep the default username and have AWS generate a password for us. Scroll down, and there's just one more thing we want to set up. Expand this section that says Set up EC2 connection. Since our website is running on an EC2 instance, and it does need to access this database instance, let's check the option that says Connect to an EC2 compute resource. And finally, choose our EC2 instance from the dropdown. Now, AWS will set up the network settings and the security groups, so our EC2 instance can access our database instance. That's all the settings. When you're ready, click the Create Database button. The database is being created. Let's go see the password that AWS generated for us. Click on the View Credential Details button up here in the notification. We need to copy and paste our username and our password. We're going to use these to configure our website later. Once the database has finished being created, the endpoint name will also show up in this dialog. You can copy it here, or there's another way to find it. If we close this dialog, then click on our database, and look below under Connectivity and Security. Click the button next to the endpoint to copy the endpoint name to the clipboard. All the resources we need in AWS are created now, and we copied down the connection info from S3 and RDS. Our last step is to put them all together by installing and running our web application. For that, let's go back to our EC2 instance. Let's head over to EC2 and find our instance. Or, since we connected our instance to our database, we can just scroll down on this page and click on our EC2 instance name to go directly there. We want to connect to our instance, so click on the instance and then choose the Connect button. There are a number of ways to connect to our instance, but the easy choice is to use this first way we see here called EC2 Instance Connect. This allows us to SSH to our instance right here within the AWS console. And the nice thing is we don't even have to leave the web browser. Just click the Connect button. We now have a terminal on our EC2 instance. We need to run about a dozen or so commands to set up our website. I put all the commands in the description below, so if you're following along, you can just copy and paste. Just change any of the values that you need to match your environment. Our website source code is hosted on GitHub, so let's download the code from there. First, use DNF to install Git. If asked to confirm, type the letter Y and hit Enter. And then use the git clone command to download the repository. And let's use the change directory command to switch to the website's folder. Now let's configure our website. Our website expects to find its configuration to be set into some environment variables. So we're going to use the export command to set some environment variables to tell our website where to find the AWS resources we just created and how to connect to them. First, the name of our S3 bucket and the region of that bucket. We need the access key we saved earlier and the secret key. Then, for the database, we need the host name we copied earlier and the password for our database instance. We could also set the username for our database instance here, but since we left it the default, we don't need to set it. Our website needs Node.js, so let's install that using the DNF command. Just like when installing Git, we need to use sudo so that the command will have elevated privileges when it runs. If it asks for confirmation, type the letter Y and hit Enter. With Node.js and the Node Package Manager now installed, we can use the npm command to install all the dependency packages that our website needs. These are the steps to install and configure mikes-macaroon-market website. If you're installing your own website, you might have slightly different steps. That's fine. Just follow your normal process. Next, use the npm command to start our web application. Note something important here. We want our website to continue to run on the server even after we leave this terminal. Since we are connected to the server remotely over SSH, normally any processes you start get killed when you close the remote session. We don't want this to happen, so there are two things we need to do. First, we must start the process as a background job. Second, we need to disassociate that job from our session. For the first step, to make the process run as a background job, just put an ampersand at the end of the command as you see here. Now the process is running as a job. Press Enter to return control to our terminal. Not something I would recommend doing to a family member, but we do need to disown this job. Use this command to disconnect the background job from our session. Then we are free to close the session without interrupting our website. Before we leave here, let's take note of the public IP address of our server. You can also find this in the AWS console on the Instances page. When you're ready, close the tab and browse to the IP address on port 8080. Of course, for a real website, you would want to get a domain name and also either configure the web server to use port 80 or add a load balancer on port 80. But take a look. Just like that, we have a website live on the internet, hosted on AWS. We're using EC2 to run the web server. We're using S3 to store images of macaroons, and if we add some macaroons to our shopping cart and go check out, we can enter our name and address, and we use RDS to save our order to a database. What a delicious way to use AWS. I promised we would look closer at AWS pricing. As we mentioned, different regions can have different pricing. Generally, the regions in the US and Europe are the most affordable, other than US West 1. If you know you're going to use specific resources, like EC2 or others, on an ongoing basis, you can prepay for them to get a discount. And if you are flexible on your usage, AWS allows you to bid on their extra capacity for cheap resources. One more tip, be sure to set a spending limit on your account, so you know you won't get any crazy bills. Now that you know how to use AWS to host your website, you have a solid foundation to explore even more of AWS's powerful services, including using AI and machine learning for computer vision, fraud detection, data analytics, and more. The possibilities are endless. And if you're looking to validate your expertise, AWS Certifications can be a great next step, helping you advance your career in the cloud industry. I'll be covering even more AWS topics in the future videos, so let me know in the comments what you'd like to learn next. Please consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video.